Hello, lovelies, and welcome back to the Equestrian Manifestation Podcast, your one-stop for all things horses and mindset to help you create the equestrian life of your dreams. Now, I am super excited to get into this today. I've been diving way into all of my resources, trying to grow my knowledge and rebuild my foundation, both as an equestrian and in my mindset. And I thought it'd be fun to jump in today and talk about something that I know I struggle with as an equestrian, and it took me years to understand how I can separate this in my riding, and it really made a key difference in how I approach my riding. So what I want to talk to you today is about what is in your circle of concern, and of those things in your circle of concern, what can you control? Sorry, I'm checking my camera. This is a whole new thing, doing this video podcasting. It's kind of cool, and I have it on my watch, which technology's wild. Anyways, of those things in your circle of control, what are you concerned with the haves and what is your concern with the bees? I think it's important for us as equestrians to separate that feeling out. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like when I go to the barn, I'm like, I have to do this. I have to. And I forget what I can be and what I can live in the moment and what I can have in that moment. I think it's important that we separate those differences. So I want you to think about all these things in your circle of concern. So let's just pretend it's like a big fenced-in paddock. So what are you concerned about? Maybe it's that relationship. Maybe it's those next steps in your riding. Maybe it's, what if my horse spooks? What are those things that are in your circle of concern? And then of those things in your circle of concern, what are the things that you can control? Because I don't know about you guys, but a lot of things that I am worried about, there's nothing I can do. There's absolutely nothing I can do, and I should accept there's nothing I can do and let it go, but it's hard. It's hard to be like, oh my gosh, there's nothing I can do about this, and just let it go. So take a second and think about those things. What's in my circle of concern? And what can I control? Because I don't know about you, but I can't control how somebody thinks about me. I can't control what my boss is going to say. I can't control what my horse is going to feel about that weird thing in the arena. Those are things I can't control. And it's okay to say I can't control it and there's nothing I can do about it, because then that lets us let it go. So identify all those things that you have to do, those things that are concerns. Once you have those identified, then we can identify what are the things you can influence, the things you can be. Because to be is to be in that state of doing. These are things we can control. So I'll use myself as an example because, you gotta practice what you preach. So for me, I can be a beacon of confidence for my horse as we come up to that unknown thing in the arena. I can be knowledgeable and confident in my job to help build my relationship with my boss. I can be a good listening, supportive partner in my relationship if that's one of the things that is in my circle of concern. And it can be hard sometimes to separate the haves from the bees. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like my bees turn into halves. Like, instead of saying I can be confident, I say, oh my gosh, I have to be confident because if I don't, nobody else will. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like that's a very dangerous sentence where you say, I have to do this because nobody else will. If you find yourself saying that sentence, and I know there have been times in my life I want you to pump the brakes. And I want you to say, am I doing this because nobody else will truly do it and I am that valuable at the task? Or do I feel like I have to do it because I don't know how anybody else can be able to step up to do that? Because if your bees are turning into halves, I want you to take that moment and say, hey, maybe we need to have a moment of communication here and make sure that we're all on the same page moving forwards, because your halves and your bees are two very different things. And I know it's a little word and it's so easy to get caught up in the semantics of it. But at the core of it, I want you to think about, what do I have to do? and what can I be? And once you separate those two out, you're gonna unlock a whole different level of emotion. And I'm trying to find the right word for it. I don't even want to say emotion or feeling, but you're going to have that moment where you're like, aha, that aha moment when things click, when you're like, okay, I can be this, I don't have to do this. That moment is when you're going to start really making that progress, and you're going to start feeling better about showing up to the barn. I don't know about you guys, but I've had moments where I'm like, oh my God, I have to go to the barn because I have to ride my horse. And all of a sudden, those things I wanted to do that I was excited about, I am no longer excited about. They are no longer bringing me joy. So take a moment and be like, you know what? I don't have to go to the barn. I can be present at the barn. I can be in the space of my horse. And I can be willing and able to enjoy that to the extent that I can handle today. Make that little bit of shift in your mindset, and all of a sudden that, oh my God, I have to turn to the barn, is I can be at the barn and I can be willing and able to enjoy it to the extent that I have. That pressure of I have to go and I have to ride and I have to do and I have to be and I have to do success and I have to, I don't know about you guys, but I've felt that feeling and it's not a great feeling. Let it go. Be like, you know what? I can be present. You know, maybe you're like, I can be confident to work towards my goals. If that's what you want to feel, that's what you're able to do. That can be an option for you as well. But once you identify those haves and those bees, absolutely game changing. Now I know this is a super short little episode. I didn't have a whole lot. I was like, you know what? I just want to put this little nugget of knowledge out there into the world. Be like, you know what? Separate your haves from your bees. And I know it's kind of funny because you're like, be have. Like they sound kind of same and different. But take the time. I want you to write it down. I know if you're not a huge journaler, you're like, what do you mean you want me to write it down? Like I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about it. I can identify it. Give it a name. Write it down. Put it on a sticky note. Put it in your phone. I don't know. I have a whole list in my phone of writing affirmations. And some of those are, I can be, or I am going to be, because I need those reminders when I go to the barn. So I don't put that pressure on myself. So if you're somebody who struggles with putting that large amount of pressure on yourself, take a minute and say, what is in my circle of concern? And of those things, what can I control? I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode today. Like I said, I know it's a little bit short and a little bit rambly, but hey, it comes from the mind of me as an amateur sharing my experience and my knowledge with all of you so that we can create and celebrate the equestrian lives of our dreams. So before I let you go today, I do want you to know that if you enjoyed this episode, I would love if you could rate the podcast or give it a like or a subscribe or whatever your podcast platform wants it to do. I don't know, they're all different now, but go ahead and show it some love. There are some other episodes if you do want to continue growing your mindset journey today as an equestrian. But until next time, I'm going to leave some good nuggets of knowledge down in the show notes for you, including my social media if you want to give it a follow. And until next time, I will see you later, lovelies.